Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. Hey guys, this is Big Paul here today with Justin Harris and Joe Miller from First Detachment. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
What's going on?
Nothing much. Justin, you threw, last time you were on, you threw everybody off because you had your screen name as Justin Cider, and people were like, what does that mean? And I'm like, my God. Do I have to go through and spell this out for everybody?
Yeah, pronounce it slowly.
Look on phonics, bros.
I saw that reel come out and I was just dying laughing. Little kid saying that, like,
I thought his last name was Harris.
Say it slow, people.
I thought his last name was Harris. Nobody ever said bodybuilders were smart.
Yeah, no, that's the last we get accused of.
Yeah, so that cracked me up. We were talking about, you want to talk a little bit about the A.I. stuff we were talking about before our
oh yeah, sure.
talk?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I was just sitting up thinking the other night, like I stupidly do. And I was thinking, just about like simulation theory, which is it's not, like it's kind of a popular thing, but if you think about it, within the next 100 years, we'll develop computers that can run a program like The Sims, where the people in the computer don't know that they're a simulation. They think they're real things, and we're very close to that. We already have, neural networks, AI, Tesla full self-driving, Alpha GPT. So we have this fairly functional AI, and then as far as like how you can even do how the robots would look. Like if you saw Avatar 2, Sigourney Weaver's daughter is Sigourney Weaver's avatar daughter is in it, and it looks like Sigourney Weaver. You could tell it's her daughter. Well, the way they do that is like Sigourney Weaver is like all her code of all the visual effects and everything. I'm sure they just take snippets of her code and interlace it with the like a stock code or whatever for. And so it'll have, it's almost like the way we would, unite genetically as humans, like, and you combine, dominant traits and recessive traits. But then I was thinking, how would you generate these people then? You can't just, how would that happen? Well, when in computer programming, you do like a normal distribution. If you need a random distribution of numbers, it's called a normal distribution. It's like a bell curve, of numbers. And you'd think that's not like, and I'm not a computer scientist, so I'm sure I'm ruining this. This is from the minimal programming I've done. But, because almost everything is that, the like athletic ability is a normal distribution, height is a normal distribution, speed, how fast you can throw a ball, how much money you have, everything, how tall you are is just a normal distribution of all the lengths of bones in your body. And where most people have similarly length bones, but some people have really long bone length, which would be like, a 7-foot basketball player, and then there's a few additional things you'd have to like put into the code. Like you'd have to like an and or function where it'd be like male or female. And you could, and then of course, however many other ones you'd have to program in other genders. But, and then like a few like minimally variance traits like eye color, hair color, race, things like that. And you could basically do that and just put out how, each person has, this list of all these, random number generators and apply it. And most people are going to be right in the middle of all those things. So most people are going to be of average height, of, average athletic ability and average intelligence. But every once in a while, someone's going to get really skewed to one side, and you'll get like an Elon Musk or a basketball player or someone who could throw a baseball 100 miles an hour.
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah. I mean, so you could generate that as he's just like a full standard deviation on several genetic factors.
Yeah, genetics is an interesting thing. Like I talk, like people don't want to think that genetics plays a role in bodybuilding, but it certainly does. Yeah. I did a full breakdown on it one time where you went through, like, the basketball is a perfect example of it, where it's I forget the exact numbers, but I think the average height of an NBA player was around 6'6" was average. That's the median height of of an NBA player, and when I looked at it, it was like 1 in 700,000 people or something like that is over 6'6".
Yeah. It's like, it makes sense for other sports. It makes sense that, you either throw the baseball 100 miles an hour or you don't. You either have Mike Tyson's punching power or you don't. You're either 6'8" and 330 pounds, or you don't play left tackle for the Detroit Lions. In other sports it makes perfect sense, but for some reason, well, not for some reason, it's because of PEDs. People think like because that plays such a role in this sport that can override the fact that Ronnie Coleman was Ronnie Coleman, and it can't. It just can't, because the PED aspect levels the playing field from that regard. So if anything, it's almost more genetic of a sport. I don't know that I really believe that, truly, because I think there's so much work ethic involved. But from the standpoint of the fact that we're in sports where PEDs are technically banned, the people who are able to sneak portions of it and use it without getting caught are going to be advantaged. Well, in this sport, that's removed. So that's a true level playing field. And so what you're left with then is the hard work and genetics. And hard work makes a difference, but hard work doesn't make you Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, you think about it, you looking back on I'm a basketball player. That's what I did when I was younger, but just Spud Webb made it to the NBA.
Yeah.
What was he? That guy was like 5'6", right?
Yeah, 5'7", I think. And then Muggsy Bogues was 5'3".
Right. So, there are outliers, and those guys have to work extra hard. That's why I tell people, like, this drives me nuts. Like, people will tell me, well, Ronnie Coleman did this, Dorian Yates did that, and Phil Heath did this. I'm like, dude, you aren't fucking Phil Heath.
Yeah. Look at Phil Heath on a basketball court, like when he was in college, like what his muscle insertions and how round everything was, and
you have to work harder. You have to pay more attention to detail than they do. I mean, Ronnie Coleman probably could have mowed lawns and been a professional bodybuilder.
Well, he's got that one picture. They always show he's like 13 with a cast, and he looks like a 27-year-old man with like 18-inch arms. He's 13.
Yeah, I found a picture of him when he was a freshman in college, and it was unreal, man. I'll see if I can splice it in this video when we put it up. But he looked like a pro bodybuilder already.
Is it him leaning on the field goal post?
Yes.
Yeah. He's got separation between his biceps and his biceps brachioradialis, like just like crisper than I ever had on this contest stage. He's just he was like 18 in that picture. Yeah.
Well, I saw that when you posted.
And in the middle of football season, and probably not even lifting weights, or minimally lifting weights.
I don't know if the story is true or not, but they, I think I saw his high school football coach said that he had never bench pressed before. And the first time he came in to bench press, he pushed 315. Never.
He's like 13 or 14 in that cast picture.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it bigger. I just don't have.
Yeah, there you go.
It's he's just playing with a different set of tools.
Yeah, he was nutty huge, man. It's insane how big that guy was. There you go.
Yeah, and people say they refuse to believe he was natural when he turned pro, but he gained almost 100 pounds of stage weight after that. Most people don't gain 100 pounds of muscle on PEDs, period. So either. He gained 100 pounds after the state where people claim he was natural, which means he probably was, because if you don't gain 100 pounds after you've already gained 100 pounds from gear.
I don't remember the exact story, but I saw Kevin Levrone on a podcast one time talking about how I guess he told Ronnie about steroids. Like Ronnie didn't even know about them.
Yeah, that's the night before the New York Pro or something. He got him drunk in his hotel room. That's kind of the story.
Yeah, had him eat pizza and got him drunk, and then he thought he won
the next morning. And then, and I think Flex kind of took him under his wing too, and showed him so that was 96. So the 98 Olympia, he was probably still not even doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
You hear like Seabum kind of says his cycles, he has to kind of hold back, keep his size down. And it's kind of the same thing. I'm sure Ronnie was at doses like that. And it's that should be an eye opener to people, when you're killing yourself, I mean, that guy, it just can't, it just happened for him. It's a total, it would suck to be him now, I guess, with the injuries and stuff, but that had to be fun for that period of time where you just go to the gym and like whatever weight you want to lift, you just lift. It's just like freakishly strong on everything.
Well, I'm sure you've seen it with people you coach, man. There's just like some people that don't grow and other people that just like nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some people, yeah. And it's the ones that are the most dedicated, and they, never eat a cheat meal, even in the off season. And they, they're obsessed about everything, and it just doesn't work. And then the guy, a lot of the frustrating thing is a lot of the guys that come so easy they just lose interest, like they won't train half the year. They won't, because it like a Michael Lockett type situation. And I'm not saying he was like that, but like it comes so easy to him that I worked with several, and they always turn pro, and they kind of always like linger at the lower end of the pro ranks, just kind of getting by on their genetics. But I've worked with a couple people, and they didn't turn pro with me, but I worked with them before they did, and it was just like absolute genetic freaks who struggled to keep it together.
Have you ever had to talk to people before, or maybe even they were thinking it and had that conversation to where they were just, blasting and just not really getting anywhere near the level they want to be at, as far as like, hey, maybe you look into something else, or you're kind of more of an optimistic.
Because for so many people, this is really like, like therapy almost. And so I've never like dissuade someone from it. But I mean, you have, if you're 30, you have 10 years basic. If you're trying to compete, you have 10 years, and so if you go from 30 to 31 and you make zero, clear progress, you're not going to get, you need to like look at where you were 5 years ago, where you are today. And if it's flat, you can't expect it to suddenly go up.
Well,
and I think
that's
a hard thing to accept when it's, because you love the sport. It's hard to accept that it's never going to happen for you.
There's some younger guys in my gym, and Paul, get your input on this too, but they were saying, I think they were overthinking like a state show, like meaning like, I didn't grow enough this off season, so I'm not going to compete because I didn't change enough, and the judges don't like that. I mean, how much validity is there in that versus just going through the process of a prep and getting the rebound being the true benefit? What are your thoughts on kind of people when they're deciding to do shows?
Well, I don't think the judges are going to remember
right.
you anyway. I mean, you really, I mean, when anybody's competing in a local show, man, I was like shocked at how fast they roll you through, man. You're out there for like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like quarter turn to the right, quarter turn to the right, quarter turn to the right.
You were more or less judged at weigh-ins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but like at the state level, there's few people. There's usually like one or two people in true contest shape, and then if the judges are there at weigh-ins, and if you see them, you see they're shredded. And when no one else is shredded and it's a bodybuilding contest, that's usually, and then they just oftentimes I don't think take a lot of care in judging, places 4 through 12 or whatever, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they do either. I mean, there's no way they can as fast as they roll people through these local shows, man. So I don't think I was a permabulker in my 20s, man. I was like one more year. I'm and I need to get a little bit bigger, and then one more year turned into 10 years, and I didn't do shit. So I think the best thing is just to get on the damn stage every year, at least once a year. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
If I were going to advise a young guy, Justin, you get the rebound, and then it seems like especially like after I did that hard cut, my body composition completely changed.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, progress is almost like logarithmic. It's really, really rapid early on after a diet, and then the longer the off season goes, it stalls out. So the more times you can get that rapid progress, the better. There's a limit, because you don't want to take every time you are dieting, you're not growing very effectively. So you don't want to do that too often. But it seems like about once a year, dieting down really hard and then growing out of that is about optimal.
It seems like there's two brands of people, man. There's the permacutter, and then there's the permabulker.
Yeah, well, I think sorry, I keep cutting you off. It's hard to change. I think like it's hard to change who you are, and so if you're going one way, it's hard to switch that. Like you worked really hard to get abs, and that's all you have. It's hard to watch them disappear, and you're still not huge. And if you're 20% body fat, but at least you look big in a shirt. It's hard to lose that, lose that, and you're still not ripped,
Yeah, it's a mind fuck. I think people don't realize when you try to do both at the same time, you end up not doing either one of them very well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just you're more experienced at this than I am, Justin, but that's just what I've seen.
No, I mean, the truth is like anything. It's somewhere in the middle. Getting too fat is bad. Trying to stay 6% body fat isn't going to help you. You have to allow some body fat to accumulate while you're adding muscle, but, not so much that you get to the point where, aromatization of testosterone to estrogen increases, your natural testosterone production. If your natural decreases, your insulin sensitivity decreases. Once those things start happening, as your body fat increases, then you're not growing optimally. But then, so, that's probably somewhere like 12% on like the old skin fold caliper method. But then if you get below like 8%, it's the same thing. That now you're not producing much testosterone. You're not carrying enough body fat to have energy reserves. Your joints might hurt. Or
it seems to me too, like, I mean, not just myself, like going back, thinking about experiences, but also like other people. Like I've always put on weight very, very easily, but the cutting is much harder. But do you see in your clients too, like the more they compete, maybe their body is just more comfortable, builds more of a tolerance at those lower body fats where it's like a transition a little bit more, or is it just each time kind of equal, or do you see any difference there?
I mean, it seems like you can speak to this, but it seems like to me that people have like, you have a homeostatic point and you can sort of reset that as you go up.
Step.
Yeah, I'm naturally a skinny guy. I think when I got out of college, I was 170 pounds, 165, 170 pounds. And like now, like I just can hold 265, 270 without even doing anything. I'm literally running 125 milligrams of test right now. And my body is just kind of hanging out at 265, 270.
Yeah, I would bet. I mean, it's interesting. It's like it takes time, but there's like a reset where, and I've seen it with several people over the years where they were like thin or, skinny growing up, and you'd think that was their, like the phenotypes where you think they're an ectomorph, and then they go through the process of adding a ton of muscle, and then they stay large for the rest of your life. It's not like some of, like some bodybuilders you'll see, they really do lose size. But some don't, they stay, like thick and heavy and bigger even after they stop competing. And I never really thought into why some people lose all their size and some don't. You'd think maybe it's related to training intensity or heavy weight. I don't know, but
I mean, maybe it's how the muscle is put together, myofibril. Versus sarcoplasmic. I mean, that could be it too.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just guessing, but it seems like some guys, like a guy like Kevin Levrone.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, it's remarkable. Because I would guarantee if you, like if you stayed on TRT, true TRT, so like 125, and then you just completely stopped working out, I don't think it would take a very, very long time for you to get anywhere back down to 170 pounds.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't think you would always stay a bigger guy, I think.
Yeah, and people. It's funny because people don't believe it.
Well, they don't believe like the TRT too is like a frustrating thing. It's like because like you're not going to stay as full and everything, but you don't. If you take like a 6-week cruise, you're not going to lose 60 pounds of muscle in 6 weeks.
No.
Like just you could do from a calorie standpoint, how much of a deficit you'd have to eat to create that energy loss, and and even if it was all for muscle and not from fat, you can't lose that amount. So it's not when like a larger guy says he's on TRT or something for a period of time, and people are like, bullshit, he didn't lose all his size. It's like it's been 18 days.
Well, I mean, the metabolites for some of the stuff hang out forever. I mean, how long is DECA in your system?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like DECA takes I think over 2 weeks to even reach level like the active half-life where it levels off to the stable blood levels. So it probably takes at least as long before that dips.
Yeah, it's 5 half-lives for it to eliminate, right?
Yeah. And what is it, like a 14-day half-life or something? Maybe not that long. I don't remember.
Well, I think like
12, I think.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think eating eating habits like plays a bigger role, where like some guys that are, you know, will keep their protein levels this
Yeah, good
higher
point. Yeah.
if they stop competing. Like,
Yeah, I guess
you know,
yeah, I mean, if you ate like a bird, you know, you would lose the weight eventually. Maybe that's probably the difference, is some guys just don't have any appetite at all, and when they go off, they just don't eat, you know, and so they lose the weight. And then if you basically eat a decent amount of food, you'll hold. Makes sense thermodynamically.
Some guy who's got like, yeah, you know, when they're competing is taking in, you know, 300 grams or 250 grams of protein, and then they just drop their appetite, and it's like maybe one meal a day they actually have a sufficient amount. It's, you know, just the raw materials over, like you said, over 5-10 years, and then not training, you know, it's going to have a trickle effect. But I do think other, you know, like you said, other factors would slow that down. It's not as quick as everyone says.
Yeah.
I met Jay Cutler, was it the year before last, and talked to him for a bit. And I mean, he was talking about how he like halfway runs TRT. Like sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Dude looks like he's one cycle away from getting back on a pro stage.
His frame is, I mean, he's an example. He can never be a small guy. No, I mean, his frame is just very large, very heavy, you know.
I think he told me he was still like 230, 240.
I believe it. Yeah, it's still and very lean. Yeah, he's I really respect him for, I mean, for two things, both like how he's able to manage the business aspect of bodybuilding, but then how he was able to manage the transition out of competitive bodybuilding, because that's harder than people think. You know, like you're king of the world, basically, you know, 285 pounds shredded, and your whole identity is the big guy, you know, and then after the stage, you know, going back and then not being the big guy. I think it's harder than people think, but a lot of bodybuilders don't make that transition well.
He's a super cool guy, man. He sponsored that show I was in. And most of these pros, like when they sponsor shows, they're not even there, man. They might come out and wave their hand on the stage and then they leave. But I mean, he hung out backstage with us, and I talked to the guy for like an hour.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he works. He can't go to a show and Jay not be there. It's like every time I go to a contest, he's there. And he's there all day, shaking hands, talking to people.
Yeah, he took a bunch of people out to dinner afterwards. Like,
he
had an open invitation. You want to come to dinner, you know, come hang out with me.
Yeah, no, he's that's like, you can't teach that work ethic.
Yeah, I mean, he's super inspiring. But backing up to the the sarcoplasmic versus myofibral growth, but I think about like a guy like Kevin Levrone that would put on, like, grow into a show that would be literally not train half the year and then gain 60 pounds, go into a show. It's got to be sarcoplasmic growth.
Yeah,
right?
well, because if you do the numbers, you know, like you take the amount of, you know, grams in a pound of protein, you know, and to add that, you know, and how many calories that is, you know, 4 calories per gram, and just do calorie wise, he would have to eat like 10 or 12,000 calories a day. So clearly it's watery infiltration in the muscle, like just remarkable sarcoplasmic response. Like, you know, I don't, if those stats are true, like the 1 year he claimed like 8 weeks, you know, a prep, and, you know, if you do 60 pounds in 8 weeks, that's, you know, it's like 8 pounds a week, you know, you're doing a pound a day, you know, you know, he's synthesizing, you know, basically 450 grams of protein into muscle every day. You know, you have to eat 600 grams of protein just to keep up with the requirements with, you know, normal protein turnover.
I heard Steve Kuklo talking about that too, where he would go down quite a bit in his off season. I know, you know, like body weight, and would put on a pretty good amount of weight, like leading into a show. I think one of the prep it might have been Hottie's podcast. Anyways, I kind of heard him.
He's still, he weighs less in the off season. He's like, last time I went down there to train with him in, like, I think 2017, 18, he was like around 280 in the off season, and I think he competed, or he said he competed at like 291 or something that later that year.
Yeah, Kevin's a local guy to here. I remember seeing him around once in a while, and he just looked like a regular dude. He didn't even look like a bodybuilder, man.
It's crazy. I wish the internet like could have documented that change. You know, if it was like modern days, you'd have an Instagram feed and we could see day to day him adding to, you know, a pound of muscle per day.
Well, there are the pictures of him up. I mean, I'm sure you can find them, Joe, but there's pictures of him up online. I mean, where he would literally come down to like 210,
Yeah.
200 pounds and then blow up like 60 pounds in a matter of a few months.
Yeah. Well, I remember one year his band Full Blown, whatever, played at one of the shows in the summer, and he did the Olympia that year, and you could see him at the show. He was 210 pounds, and then
Here's
like 12 weeks later, he was on the Olympia stage.
Here's an interesting one. I mean, he's in a suit here, but like that does not look like what you'd think he would look like. I mean, I know he's not shirt off, whatever, but looks like you said, normal sized dude walking around.
Yeah, and then back to genetics. I mean, yeah, that guy would be second place in the Olympia 12 weeks later. And that's the kind of that's the kind of genetics that are out there.
Well, when I was in basketball, they used to always say you can't teach tall.
Yeah.
That's you can't outwork tall.
Yeah, I mean, like basketball is the best example, because there isn't a person alive who thinks if they just practice enough and took enough PEDs that they could beat LeBron James. He's dunking on me no matter how many PEDs I take or how much dribbling I do. Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Have you seen the pictures of him? Talk about a freak, man. When he was like 13,
like 6'9", 260, shredded. Yeah, it's just Can you imagine him playing like a tight end or something? Just, I mean, he'd be 285 running like a 4.5. I don't know. Just a genetic freak.
There's a great reel. Another one is Zion Williamson. You want to see a funny video? There's
the explosiveness. Someone needs to test that dude's like Achilles strength to move that weight the way he does,
and
get that much weight off the ground. It's remarkable. Yeah. Can you imagine if he wasn't fat? If that dude was like 8% body fat, he'd be dunking with his feet.
There's a video of him in high school just destroying dudes.
Oh yeah. The guy, that one kid's waist high trying to guard him. There's a video they always show where some kids, 5'2" kids trying to guard him.
Yeah, he's just dunking on everybody.
Talk about living life on easy street. Can you imagine being your high school experience? Like a high school sucked. Well, for me it wasn't so bad actually.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the Phil Heath equivalent. I mean, it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're never going to be Phil Heath. Exactly. 99.99% of people. I mean, it's like, I think 7-footers. There's only a couple thousand in the whole world.
Yeah. You're talking 1 in 100 million. 1 in 10
got him
million.
Pretty good.
So he's got a full-grown man with 2 kids and a 401k.
Yeah, there's a video of him just abusing dudes in high school. That's unreal.
That would be, I mean, like, of all the fun things to be or do, like a Zion in high school or like a LeBron in high school has got to be. I mean, talk about an enjoyable year. During basketball season, it's just like playing against children when you're an NBA level player.
Well, I used to play here in DC. Like, I play some rec ball, and I would, when I was younger, I'd see. I didn't know who he was at the time, but Kevin Durant was just like 14, 15 years old and playing with grown ass men.
It was
unreal, man.
A funny thing that I don't know why that made me think of this. GetBig.com. You ever been on there?
Oh yeah.
Well, years ago, like 2008 or something, there used to be a guy that posted Jadeveon Clowney.
Oh yeah.
Well, he posted on there. There was a guy under that name, and then like 6 years later, that name was in college. And so I've always wondered, like, was he like a middle-aged? Because there's no way he wasn't famous. It was years before he was famous.
That's funny.
He was like in 8th grade when this name was posting on Get Big.
Could have been some local guy that was like,
yeah, I mean, he probably wasn't. Yeah, probably was locally famous in 8th grade. But I just thought, like, that was because it's such a unique name, and this guy, he posted regularly, and then years later he's playing in college, and then someone remembered and brought it up, and everyone was like, "What the fuck is this? You guys remember this guy? This is 4 years ago." And and then he's playing in college then.
Well, and going back to like what you're saying about why in bodybuilding people think they can overdo it. I mean, it's like, I understand early on someone thinking they can, with gear or whatever, because they just don't understand like how much other like you still need the raw materials and things to grow. But I wonder, you know, it just makes me think about how much does that have to do with someone's psyche, where, you know, we know what just, you know, normal testosterone does for a male as far as like vigor and courageousness and thinking they can take on the world. Like now you get these amped up amounts. They just have a diluted, you know, view of what's reasonable that they can accomplish within that time period. And it's like, you know, not to crush dreams or anything, but it's like you're just not going to be next to, you know, a Phil Heath or whatever the case is. Like there's just, you know, a large percentage of people that won't.
Everyone can improve. I believe in that.
Yeah,
but I mean,
right.
it's where you're starting from. I mean, Ronnie Coleman's start point was like where the most of us would be after years of running gear.
Yeah, well, that 14-year-old picture. Yeah, most of us
Yeah.
don't get into that. But I think like the Garrett is kind of its own worst enemy in that regard, because there's always that compound you haven't tried yet. That might, you know, your brain's thinking might, you know, you do your first like test only cycle, and then you do like a test and DECA cycle, and then you wonder like, well, maybe D-ball is going to be the thing that I can respond to, and there's a lot of compounds, you know, and then you go through all of them and it still hasn't happened, and then you start thinking, well, you know, it's got to be growth hormone. That's, you know, it's the growth hormone. Once I get that, that's when it's going to start happening. And then you get that, and you know, and well, it's the insulin, you know. That's why those guys are the way they are. It's the insulin, you know, and just you can talk yourself through a decade of that, really.
There are some guys that seem to overcome it. I mean, like I look at, I'm sure you've seen the pictures, but like the pictures of Nick Walker in his first show, I wouldn't have thought that guy was genetically elite anyway.
Good point. Yeah,
that's a good one.
That's the showcase of dedication and, you know, like consistency. I told the story like a bunch of times, but I remember some video of him. They were throwing a birthday celebration for him at a restaurant, and it was middle of the off season, and he walked in with his Tupperware. It was his birthday at a restaurant, and he's in the off season, and he still brought his Tupperware of chicken and rice in.
Yeah, when I posted that video about his cycle the other, you know, couple days ago, I had one of his friends, like a close friend, reach out to me. And he was like, hey man, he goes, you know, I see what you're posting, but he said, the thing that you don't know about Nick is like, nobody works harder than that guy does.
Yeah, I'll believe it. Yeah. I mean, like you know, every single workout is with purpose, and every single meal is with purpose. And he doesn't miss either of them ever. Yeah.
He was telling me, he was like, he's in the gym 6 days a week. He said he's in there every morning posing, even in the off season, posing 6 days a week. They said he doesn't miss meals. He doesn't cheat on his diet. Mm-hmm. He works his ass off in the gym. He goes, I can tell you, nobody works harder than that guy does.
Yeah, and that's what you need. That's what's kind of weird about the sport is,
that's nuts, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't even look like the same person.
No, it's remarkable.
There's another one I have too. Let's go ahead. Here, let's see. I don't even know if this is the same person, so you guys can tell me this because it's pretty wild. But I'll throw it up anyways.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, that's
wow,
crazy. Yeah.
I mean, do you look at that guy on the left? Do you think he's going to be a pro bodybuilder?
No, absolutely not. But is that that's like, it's like just mind blowing. It's like its structure doesn't even look the same. But yeah, it's just, you know.
I mean, he has no width, nothing.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, I don't want to completely discourage people. You know, but
no, absolutely not. No, and because that's what's enjoyable about this is like it gives you a reason to live in this shitty life, you know. So definitely not.
I mean, he could be a hyper responder too. I have seen those people before too. I had this college kid that I've been working with this past year, and literally 250 milligrams of test, and the dude put on like 40 pounds in 6 months.
Yeah. That's what Kukla was like.
I've never seen anything like it, man. I mean, I think this kid might be, you know, a 2 and done, you know, get a pro card, you know, that everybody dreams about.
That's what Steve was like. He, you know, he's completely natural as a teen. And then, I mean, I won't speak for him, but then, you know, maybe did something, and he was 290 pounds within a couple months. I mean, it was like every time he walked in the gym, he was a bigger kid. I mean, that was like the beginning of the end for me, you know, because I'd worked with people, but seeing it in person, you know, it's like I don't have bad genetics, you know, and I could carry a lot of size, but I'm doing everything right, and you know, everything as good as I can, you know, not missing any meals. You know, my progress is going really fast, but this kid is just, you know, it's like you can do the math in 18 hours. He's going to pass me, so I'll bow out.
Yeah, I mean, some people are just. I saw that picture you posted of him when he was what 19. I think it was. That was insane.
Yeah, that was may or may not have been after his first cycle.
Well, and I think that's what I was trying to get at too, was like, I guess just because what I've seen, and mine has, you know, been more just like the local guys, like for a local show, you know, doing like a pro cycle as they call it. And I'm just like, all right, if you put on like, you know, 8 pounds and you did 3 grams for 6 months, man, like it might be time to reel that in and just understand you need the 10 to 12 years of, you know, 5 to 10 pounds of stage weight. Like, I mean, 10 years at 5 pounds of stage weight, even, which seems crazy, is 50 pounds, you know? I mean, obviously I'm a math whiz now, but you know, that's kind of more what I was thinking about.
I think I respond super well to, I mean, I don't
run baby doses.
Yeah, I don't run high dose. I don't think I've ever gone past 1.5 grams ever.
Yeah, no, I mean, you are gotta be like you are the bottom 10% for sure, for your size, even lower. I mean, one of my lower dose guys, period.
Yeah, I mean,
but you do all the important things correct, you know. You're
sometimes
on point with the with like your stretches of rapid progress where you were doing everything right.
Yeah, I was 100% last year when, you know, I didn't deviate from that off season, or from that contest through the off season up to the next contest. I was rock solid.
Yeah, that was fun.
Where did you post that, Justin?
Huh?
Where did you post that one?
On my Instagram, but I've been posting so much, it's probably like 10 pages back. But that was fun. Like you don't get that many of those with the client, because I remember your metabolism ran away on the end of that first diet, and we used T3. We probably should have pulled it out, but it was like, it happened like so late. It was like the last 2 weeks, and you were losing like pounds a day, and I was like really, really bummed, because I was like, man, you know, because you feel terrible as a coach. And it's not like you look bad. You were shredded. You just, you know, you were over dieted. You feel terrible as a coach. It's like, you know, this guy pays me, you know, and you feel like, like I felt like I let you down. And I remember, I think, like asking you, like, you know, like, don't jump ship, you know, like, just, you know, give me. And then we started having that rebound, and that whole year was just a blast.
Yeah, I mean, I just got in a groove, and I didn't get sick. That was another thing. I've no injuries that off season. I just like this year has just been one fucking thing after another, dude. It's been incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, it was the rebound you were talking about right here. It's for people who haven't seen that, but
yeah, that was fun.
Let's see here.
Yeah, I mean, this year it's just been like I had the flu, then I got pneumonia, and then I hurt my pec, and then just like, fuck.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people
poisoning.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah, and I've been hearing more and more just like podcasts or people talking, and just you know, the combination. Obviously, there's been some people moving away from like some kind of thyroid protocol in their prep, and then others that are using, it seems like, more or different, like a combination of T4 and T3, and some are just using T4. Like, what are you seeing out there in the competitive world? You know, do you have any insights on that, or like what the
I had that cycle I posted up. I didn't name names, but it was from a top coach that works with pros and gets guys in shape, and they were not running any T3. They barely ran any fat burners at all, but as much trend as they were running, you probably don't need it.
Well, that's the other thing. When you carry a lot of, it's a different world for the very, very large guys, because when they carry that much mass, it's really difficult to get fat even. So they tend to carry, you know, like even the fat pro bodybuilders are still leaner than gym rats. You know, like a pro bodybuilder will guest pose out of shape, and everyone will, you know, crucify him online, but he'll still have abs. You know, he's just, you know, he's like bloated and watery, but he's still under still 10% body fat or less. You know, and that's a fat pro. And so it's really a different, like it's like Steve Kuklo also. When you're weighing more on stage than you do in the off season, it's a very different prep. It's like the whole approach is different, because it's not about dieting, you know, and suffering and being hungry. It's about how perfect can you be with the diet, you know, because you're actually gaining weight during the process.
Yeah, what I've seen, it's interesting. What I've seen a lot of guys do now is run tren and then use T4. And I was talking to Dr. Todd about that the last time we were on, and he was talking about how tren causes more conversion. So
Yeah.
like I guess guys are feeding the top end of it with T4, and he was speculating that your body's own T3, if you're using T4 to leverage that upregulated conversion from the trend, that you actually it's not as catabolic.
Yeah, well, it's self-limiting because your body will only convert the T3. It won't convert excess. It'll convert the amount it needs. Wherever the parameters are that for what that is. But it's not like if you just run T3, whatever milligram you take, that's what's in your body. The conversion from T4 to T3 is self-regulated by your body, so it's going to vary from day to day and hour to hour even, and so it'll be it's self-limiting as far as you don't run into those cases where you have too much and you're going and it's catabolizing tissue.
Yeah, I think that's the issue with T3 is it seems like it's equal parts burning muscle and fat. It seems to be indiscriminate.
It depends on the person too. You'd be surprised. Some people don't. I can think of one pro actually who could do like high doses of T3, never get flat, and never didn't seem to ever lose muscle. But most people for sure, as the doses get higher.
We go back to genetic variability again. Yeah. And everybody has a unique response. I mean, that's the other thing that I see with compounds that's interesting is like how differently people respond to different things.
Yeah, it's really, you think like, it's a molecule. I'm a human. Like, we have the same DNA. It can't be that much variance, but there really is. It's interesting because there's so many, between, aromatization, estrogen, whether you increase, produce prolactin, whether you're DHT sensitive, there's, so there are a lot of variables.
I literally have a guy right now that, will run a gram of test with no AI and his estrogen's in single digits.
Yeah. My estrogen, mine on Merrick's was 3. My test was 386. Yeah. Mine's always, I never had to use an AI. Never.
I'm the opposite, man. I turn into a woman if I'm not careful.
Well, in today's day and age, that's a perfect week. Accept you the way you are.
I will say this though, dude. After I used to have to use AIs, but after I got super lean.
Yeah.
I don't anymore.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
so weird. Yeah. It's a really weird thing. Because when you're leaner, you naturally aromatize less estrogen.
Because it's the made of fat.
I've seen that so many times where once someone gets very lean, like they were very estrogen sensitive, always had to worry about gyno, and it's especially people who are like permabulkers for a long period of time, and then when they finally do their first contest, then they are way less estrogen sensitive from then on forever afterwards. It's really weird.
Yeah, I can run 750 tests now with no AI, no problem.
Yeah. It's so weird how that, it's
and I couldn't do that before.
To that body fat loss,
Yeah, 250 I would have to run it before. Yeah, so
wow.
It's completely changed. Yes, your body's a wild machine, man. How it adapts and strives for homeostasis, and you can reset things.
Yeah, life finds a way.
Well, yeah, I think that's a whole nother thing though, to where a lot of coaches that don't know what they're doing or maybe do a cookie cutter approach, like I think they hurt a lot of people too, to where it's just pounding these extremely hard AIs when they're not even needed. Because I used to always question that, like why such a heavy amount are being used out there, but they're taking things that don't aromatize like their last 6 weeks in a show. So do they really need that much? And then just insane side effects.
Having rock bottom estrogen just feels terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you do kind of need to bury it at the end of the show, though. That's just been my experience.
Yeah, you need that. You're not going to be dry without it.
Although all the DHT derivatives in theory should mop the estrogen up.
Yeah, and like things like Mastron's actually a pretty potent. Is it aromatase inhibitor? I think so.
It's a reversely binding aromatase inhibitor. Yeah, if I recall correctly.
And it lowers prolactin also. So and Premabulkers a pretty decent. I think Premabulkers, I don't remember how that works, but that lowers estrogen. I can't remember. It's got to be like a aromatase inhibition, because I can't imagine it would have anything that would fit in an estrogen receptor. But Premabulkers, Mastron, Winstrol, even a little bit. So
yeah, the way I understand it is that the aromatase will bind to the molecule, right? And because it doesn't convert, there's nothing to convert.
Yeah.
So it sort of mops up the aromatase.
Mm-hmm.
If I recall correctly, that's the way it works with the
Yeah,
DHA
and like
derivatives.
an extreme example would be like Proviron, which is like that's really its only real action. It's an androgen, but it doesn't have any like anabolic activity. I mean, I haven't thought about this stuff in 20 years. I'm probably saying a lot of stupid things. You go through like that. You go through that period where you like learn it all, and then it just kind of becomes, it's like then whatever's like the new thing, like you learn about peptides, and that's where you kind of reading. And so like some of the stuff I probably need to revisit.
It's funny, like I'm looking at it all the time because all the people that watch my channel, it's all they want to talk about. But it's funny because I kind of get bored with it, man. There's only so many compounds you can use.
Yeah. It's like it's not like a Rubik's cube. There's not a million combinations. So you really pretty quickly run the gamut.
I mean, it was like that Nick Walker cycle when people were talking. When he was talking about off season, he said test EQ and MPP, where people are like, he's lying.
Yeah, like what do you want him to say? Some made up compound? Like he's telling you he's taking like the most, like basically the strongest, safest stuff that you can run in the highest doses without like serious risk of health issues. What did you expect?
He said no orals.
Yeah, that's definitely not. I mean, they kill appetite, they kill your blood work.
Have you guys seen coming through like diet plans or whatever? I've seen a lot in general population, but like the GLP1 agonists, like your Ozempic or semaglutide.
Semaglutide. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I just saying that's everywhere now. That's like that's this close to being added to like my standard protocol for contest preps now. It's super effective.
Yeah, they absolutely bury. I haven't tried it myself because I don't have problems losing weight, but I've seen it absolutely bury appetite. Metformin will bury your appetite too.
Yeah, Metformin always ruined my stomach.
I've used it in different diets. It's way milder than a pharmacology, but like that yerba mate or whatever I've used in between, it's like a mild GLP-1 agonist. Again, it's not as strong as a pharmaceutical, but I did feel a difference, and I know I have family member and friends that are using it. Some general population, I have one family member that's probably 150 pounds overweight, probably dropped like 40 or 50 pounds just by simply starting. Their doctor put them on Ozempic. And, it's interesting how it works because it not only does it work on the brain chemistry as far as the signaling that you're hungry, but it also works on satiety, like all the little neurotransmitters and signaling in the gut to actually makes your gut feel like it's full, and it lowers that gastric emptying, which is it's an interesting mechanism. And of course, it's all over online. People can read, look at what I'm saying, but to where it's working on like both different, pathways of hunger. So I've seen people like go a whole day where they just don't even think about eating. And so it's a interesting kind of breakthrough, if you will, but I'm just curious to see how it's going to be long term.
I noticed a lot of my clients that are from Europe that they're prescribing it over there.
Oh yeah. It's action on insulin is kind of interesting too, because I don't think it has a lot of action on the receptor. It works to improve insulin secretion, I think, or insulin response.
Yeah, from what I understand, it increases the beta cell. How the action it acts on the beta cells in some way.
Yeah,
to increase production.
Sorry, I was going to say decrease the amount of glucagon provided by the liver is what I was.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, which seems kind of intriguing because if you have insulin sensitivity, it's because of too much insulin, basically. More or less. It's more complex than that. But so to create a medicine that increases your insulin production seems like eventually you're going to run into the same situation, but I guess maybe you can titrate the dose. There's 0.5 milligram, 1 milligram, all the way up to 2 milligrams. So maybe over 20 years, you do get that effect.
Yeah. And they were saying, I know like even the medical protocols are like, 4 weeks, check in, 8 week, 8 to 12. Then you kind of have to,
because I would have to imagine it's like using endogenous insulin. Yes, it brings your blood sugar down, but if your blood sugar was high because of poor insulin sensitivity, now you just add more insulin. If you ever remove that insulin, it's going to be even worse. But I guess if it's it's a slow process, especially if it's working through glucagon, and then you can slowly titrate the dose. But yeah, it's a super interesting compound.
Now, if someone's using that, do you feel like, or not feel, I guess it's more of a science question, would it have an effect on risk of going like hypo or having more symptoms like that? Or is it kind of self-regulating in that from your understanding?
From what I understand, it's self-regulating. I mean, I would guess that going hypo is a risk. I've seen people go hypo with metformin before.
No. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because like glucagon is how your body kind of regulates that, and so if it's shorting that system a little bit, I mean, but it's not like it's like, rounding the edge. It's not like slamming insulin, it's a little bit. So I'm sure there's a risk, but it's probably similar to like metformin.
It's really curious how like people feel full, but it's more of a nausea feeling that makes them not want to eat. So it's not very pleasant from what I've heard from the majority of people.
That's what I worry about, because that's what like a melanotan was. People be like, use melanotan, you lose your appetite, you're in prep. Yeah, because I want to throw up. I don't want that's the word that feel nauseous sucks. That's that's like one of the worst feelings in the world.
That's why I kind of have been fascinated with metformin. I don't know if you've seen all the studies on metformin with leptin sensitivity for people that can't lose weight. Like a lot of people, they end up leptin resistant, and metformin seems to have there's studies on it that show that metformin drastically increases leptin sensitivity.
Interesting.
Yeah, just not only myself, but I know so many people who use it, and probably it just might be the grouping, but 10-20% of them can actually tolerate it. Like I know I was pissed because I wanted to, use it, and it just
it can tear up your gut.
My gut was just a train wreck. I tried a bunch of different things and a lot of different patients and different, people, even healthy people using it that I know that were trying to get in like the mid 80s or whatever and just drop their blood sugar and, to more optimal ranges. It was just atrocious on them, but then other people are fine. They could.
Yeah, it doesn't affect me. I know, like, there's the concern about with the IGF-1 pathway and how it suppresses IGF-1, but I haven't found that to be the case in my blood work.
Yeah, well, and maybe it is, but if it's, suppressing it 5% and you're utilizing, growth hormone,
and insulin.
Yeah, it's like that. I always like to say that, yes, if you take a deck chair off the Titanic, it weighs less, but not really. Like if you're on anabolics, yeah, metformin has technically, anti-hypertrophy actions, but
I have come off of it. I've been using the suppressor product, and it seems to work just as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the data. I started really tracking it around 2014 or 15, like with clients recommending various dosage, 1,000 milligrams, 1,500 milligrams of berberine, and then comparing berberine with cinnamon or black pepper extract, and then and then eventually the full combination, what's in suppressor. And that seems to be about equally as effective as 1,000 milligrams of metformin at lowering blood sugar, to almost identical to where if a person has been using metformin and had insulin sensitivity issues and completely replaced the metformin with the suppressor, it was like they got equal blood work results, so.
Paul, do you, and Justin, like your input too, if it's something different, but do you spread it out? I mean, I think it's 5 capsules as a serving. Do you spread it out throughout the day, or is it all at once? I mean,
I've had people spread it out, but I don't know how you recommend.
No, you should. The problem is, the label doesn't say that, just says 5 per day. Technically, the more spread out, because it is a pretty acute action, and so it doesn't have like a long dragged out half-life, and so ideally it would be like 1 pill per meal, just every meal you ever eat.
That's what I've been having guys split it up in thirds and taking it with 1 meal, 1, 3, and 5. But I take it with every meal.
But that's the problem, is it's hard, like to sell a product, to sell a product to someone who's dedicated, right? That's no problem. But most people don't want to take a pill with every single meal they eat. So at the very least, if you take them all at once, it gives.
I was doing one because I eat 6 meals. I was doing 1 at each meal, and then I was taking my metformin with the last meal before. Yeah. But I pulled the metformin though because it was just destroying my appetite. I couldn't eat.
Yeah, your metabolism is pretty high now. I mean, you have to eat a decent amount of food.
Yeah, I could. I have that's been my big issue lately, is I'm struggling with my appetite. But it seems like since I pulled back and went on cruise, like my appetite has returned and my strength is going on. It's been really weird.
Cruise has been wild. Yeah, your check-ins, because it's been like such a rough off season, and then you go on this like unplanned cruise, and then you have a string of like 3 in a row that have been good.
Yeah, my strength. I have gotten a little fatter. Like my body composition has gotten softer. That's probably due to a couple extra cheat meals. But I mean, that's the big difference I noticed when I come off because I like running Premabulkers as my primary anabolic, but the Premabulkers keeps me hard.
Yeah.
But I noticed that when I just come down to the test that I kind of get a little softer. But actually, my strength has gone up. I feel better. My appetite has returned. So it was probably just toxic drug load. I don't know.
I always wonder what the true, because it's hard when you're in the sport because, you're doing everything you can. And so you always want to push the envelope across the board, but you do find there seems to be pretty clear points where adding more not only is no longer adding more PEDs is no longer improving progress, but actually starts to hinder it through appetite issues or lethargy. And so, but it's so hard to know what that exact dose is. And then even more like from a longevity standpoint, where the bottom end of that maximally effective range is, and I think it's probably lower than most people think and most people accept, but I wish there's a way to really know that, because I think it'd be a big help in improving the general health of the sport. Because I think it is pretty low, actually.
I think it's something you have to find yourself. The analogy I heard, I think it was Dr. Mike Israel that said this. It's like drinking.
Yeah.
There is a saturation point with drinking where you're drunk and you don't get any more drunk from drinking more. You just get sicker.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah. There clearly is an optimal drunk range.
Well, Justin, you got to watch it if you talk about drinking, right? Because you tried doing like a health post about liver and people are losing their mind. Like, what is he talking about?
I'm like, so yeah, take care of your liver health, because we do things that damage our liver. So you're saying you think the worst aspect of alcohol withdrawal is liver toxicity? No, I didn't even mention the word withdrawal. I'm saying that if you have unhealthy, elevated liver enzymes, you should try to take care of that. Oh, you think that? Oh my God, like Instagram comments make me wonder. Like when I do podcasts or seminars, how badly is it being misinterpreted? Because you post a reel and it's like, well, Dave, on Instagram, I have Dave Tate saying bodybuilding is not that complicated.
I reposted that one.
Yeah. And then every comment is, you don't think it's hard? It's like, no, that's not. So people just hear what they want to hear and then create an argument about this thing that wasn't even said. And then like, as an idiot, like I'll go in the comments and reply to the comment where he's arguing and going something I didn't even say in the video. And then I'm just like, why am I even arguing this?
I you know what, dude, I have zero tolerance for morons anymore. I'm just, anytime anybody comes in with the stuff like that, I'm block, you're gone.
It kind of cracks me up. It doesn't at first. At first I'm like, oh God, is this guy serious? He can't be serious. I didn't even, that's not the point of the.
I was gonna say, it really depends on how much trend I'm on, whether or not I want to argue. Last year, a contest prep, I was like, "You mother,
I'll fucking find you. Who you're talking
I'm gonna
to?
Find you. Well, hunt you down."
I sometimes will give like a shout out to someone because like we had one guy because I screwed up editing and there was like 10 minutes of blank space.
Oh yeah.
So he commented like,
best part is
best part of this video is 1921 was the timestamp. I'm like 1921. I thought it ended at 12 minutes. So I go back to it. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like 30 minutes long.
So I wrote him back. I was like, great point. We'll clean it up and great sense of humor. Thank you. Thumbs up. I was like,
oh man, they don't miss anything, man. I misspell a word.
You say one thing wrong. And that's a problem too, is especially if you kind of, because like as you start building a reputation as like a guy who was knowledgeable about something, then it's now everyone else's chance who doesn't have a reputation for being knowledgeable to catch you. And so you have like a whole legion of people around the world just trying to find any word that you say wrong so they can jump in the comments and let everyone know this motherfucker said.
That was some wise advice that Vigorous Steve gave me when my channel started growing. He's like, man, you got to double, triple check everything and make sure that you're right about what you're saying, because people will murder you.
Oh man, I like, because like that's why I've been for 20 years. It's like and then it's so easy. Like I was talking about earlier about like about simulation and stuff. It's so easy to start talking about things that I know nothing about, you know. And so like someone who unfortunately, whoever this person is who saw that and is like roasting me in the comments right now is probably not watching right now to see my mea culpa. But you know, because you're just talking to friends, you know, and you just talk about stupid stuff. But, you know, like, I'm sure that was complete garbage. And anyone who with any real computer science knowledge knows why everything I said was completely wrong. But that, like, that's the problem, is because you go out there and you're just talking to friends and you'll say dumb shit. And then there's people all over the world just ready to pounce.
Oh God, I saw one, he shall remain nameless, but one coach that found something that Dante Trudel posted up like 20 years ago. It was literally 20 years ago, and said Dante Trudel said take a gram of Tren every week, and I'm like, dude, he coached me for 3 years. I never took a gram of Tren a week ever.
Yeah, probably. Dante
was so upset.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I wonder too, because like that's the internet doesn't forget, you know. I'm wondering, like, did I say anything stupid on Get Big or something? I'm sure I did.
Really a post from Intense Muscle from like 2003 or some crap.
Yeah, well, yeah, and because I started doing this and speaking, you know, like as a not like speaking from a knowledgeable standpoint on nutrition when I was like 21, and I didn't know shit, you know, I really didn't. And so I'm sure I could go back and just like shake my head at some of the stuff, but it's out there. Not right now. Someone's finding it probably now that I mention it. But.
God, I was going back and looking at some of my posts on Intense Muscle from back in the day, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that.
That stuff's a lot of those still up there.
Oh yeah, they're all there.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a couple, man. We had a bunch of pictures on one of them. I don't remember which one that was.
We had both, but it was the main one. That was what like started my career. Muscle Mayhem was like there was a thread like post your pictures, you know, and it was like just forum members, and so like I started posting mine, and then Steve's, and then Joe's, and then my clients, and then they made it a whole separate sticky thread. And so like Chad Nichols, whether he even knew, you know, because that was his site, he didn't. What was her name? Oh geez, she's super sweet. Can't remember the lady's name who ran the site, but she was really cool. Anyways. Like Chad probably didn't even know, but he basically launched my career, you know, because that thread is how people started knowing me. And then I had like 7 people do junior nationals that year, all 7 or 6 of the 7 placed top 5, and then boom, I had a career basically.
I remember your first year at junior nationals. How many hotel rooms did you have to go to while you were competing that
year? 7.
That was the 7. Okay.
Yeah.
Man,
and so I said I would never compete at a show I had a client in after that, because something has to give, and if you're a good coach, it's going to be your physique, and mine absolutely did. Those are the pictures I don't want anyone to see. Actually, someone can see them so they can see how far I came afterwards. But
that was one Phil Heath won that show.
Yeah.
No, Phil Heath was the overall winner. I remember because I was there, and I was just like,
yeah.
That guy looks a lot different than everybody.
Yeah, and back to genetics. That was his first cycle.
Wow,
that's insane.
And it was, and he didn't know anything about it. He was like, because he was kind of asking, he was talking, like we're sitting around the table, and he took, if I remember correctly, we did test in DECA. I don't want to call a guy out, you know, I don't know where his stance is on this, so hopefully he doesn't get back to him, you know, because he was a really cool guy. But 500 tests, 4 milligrams DECA. That was what he prepped with.
It's out there. I heard Skip Hill talk about it. I think Skip prepped him, right?
Yeah. Turned pro on that. Basically, because he turned pro 6 weeks later at the USA's.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on. Justin, let's talk about the supplements, man.
Yeah. I love firstdetachment.com. Yeah, we got, you know, our main products, Field Rations, probably our biggest one. That's intra workout, which, you know, I've been a big proponent of for years. It's a great product, highly branched cyclodextrins, essential amino acids, all and sodium, all the ingredients you need for muscle growth. And then we have our health series, which is suppressor for insulin management, renal reset for kidney function, canopy for digestion, QRF for liver health. Why was I forgetting QRF? Because that's what that Instagram post was about. Yeah, and then we have a pre-workout WTF. You know, really good products, formulated exact. They came from what I was recommending to clients, and so any of my clients from years will know that I've recommended combining these ingredients in a fat loss product like our Go Pills, you know, separately, combining these ingredients into an intra workout. Well, now it's I'm producing it, utilizing berberine with these, you know, these specific other compounds, and now that's in our suppressor. So,
well, one thing I want to say too, just if this, you know, makes it out there, but with how much Justin's put into the industry over 20 years and how much he's, you know, given out there for free over all this time, like there's been a lot of people that have reached out to help us get first attachment out there. And so as a result, we're having unexpected, like just very, very fast growth in certain products, which is awesome. We're super excited, but we are going to be launching like a pre-order option soon. So we've ramped up our manufacturing like you wouldn't believe.
We can't keep up.
Because of the ingredients we use, it still is about an 8-week lead time. So we're, just for the viewers out there, like we are launching a pre-order option so that as soon as it gets in, you'll make sure you get it, because we have several just great people out there that are inviting us on different shows and posting about our stuff, because it does work. That one post and we'll see projections, like something will just spike, you know, way off the chart. So we're doing the best, you know, we're putting some things in place to you know, sustain that now moving forward. But we are going to have options for pre-orders. I just want to put that out there as well. If someone comes to the site and there happens to be something that there's a little bit of a lag between, you know, manufacturing and when we sold out from some of those big posts and things.
Yeah, I think I sold you guys out of QRF.
Yeah.
You definitely had something to do with that at one point. So
yeah, that was a big spike.
Yeah, that shit works, man.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. I mean, it's hard because, you know, it's like an 8-week lead time, the whole manufacturing process. So it's hard to predict that far ahead. But yeah, you know, we're doing our best. But thank you. I mean, thank you for buying our stuff.
Yeah. Yep. All right. We'll see you guys.
All right, guys. I appreciate you coming on. I'll put all the information for First Attachment in the video description below. So if you want to pick up the supplements, head over there. And thank you for watching.
All right. We'll see you.
Thanks, Paul.
This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off.